amazing app called Be My Eyes. It will be really interesting to hear his experience, his thought process, and how he developed the project and running it. Let me welcome Mr. Homer Mobji from Benetech Corporation and the head of Bookshare in India and this part of the world. So, Mr. Homer, you can do a small welcome address, and then we will start the ProTac today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram. Thank you, Hans, for joining this program. And thank you to everybody who have taken time out from their schedule to join us. This is a part of our Benetech series of informative programs. And we will be again starting these series of programs for information of one and all. So stay connected with us for our next announcement. Without taking any further time, over to you, Hans.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me to this event here. I'm sorry about my voice because I do have a little cold, so it sounds a little rusty. I have not been drinking or anything. I don't have COVID, so I'm basically fine. I'm just a little rusty in the voice. I am myself a visually impaired 58 years old person. I live in Denmark, and I have been visually impaired for more than 30 years now. I have a eye condition called retinitis pigmentosa, which basically in my case means that my field of vision is getting more and more narrow. And now I have 1-2 degrees of central vision left, which is very, very little. I do use a white cane to get around, but I do have a very narrow but pretty good central vision. So I'm so glad and happy that I can still read the text on my iPhone. So it's people get a little confused sometimes when I have the white cane, but I can read the text on my iPhone. But that's how it is to be hands there, and being low vision can be so different from person to person. So so just remember that when you meet a person with a white cane, they don't have to be completely blind, but they can be low vision like me. So I was working for the Danish Blind Federation for a number of years, and I met a lot of other blind and low vision people in that period. And we are back in 2012, and one day I came up with this idea about making an app where you as a blind person could get visual assistance without having to call your friends and family, because I met a few of the blind people I knew, and they were using Skype and FaceTime when they were alone and they needed to see something. Then they would call their sister and say, "Can you please help me see what this is?" And one of them said, "But I always have to call someone." And that kind of got me thinking. And I'm not a tech guy myself. I have no idea how to make an app. But I knew it would be possible to kind of make a group of volunteers that you could call. And this idea would not kind of leave me. And I remember I have a wife and 2 daughters. And my youngest daughter and I, we made this small experiment where I was walking around with my phone, and she was sitting with her in the living room, and I totally closed my eyes, and that's it. Now you guide me all the way around the house. And it was amazingly easy for her, a little to the left, a little to the right. Of course, she knew exactly where I was going and how it would be and so on, but still I was amazed that, whoa, this is actually pretty good. You can do this. And it doesn't matter if you sit 5 meters apart, or one of them is in New York and one is in Denmark. We can actually make this into a global thing. And then I was all fired up, but I still had no idea how to make an app or anything. And then I stumbled on an event here in Denmark at a university called Startup Weekend, where you can basically walk in from the street and present an idea. That's what I did. I got 1 minute to present this idea. I was so lucky that there was a number of people in the audience that said, oh, that's a great idea. Let's have a look at that. And then over this startup weekend, we worked on this idea and make the concept more clear. And then on Sunday, we presented to the judges, and we won the prize for the most innovative idea. This was in 2012. So that's 10 years ago now. And then we won this prize award, but no money. So we had kind of an idea that this would be a good idea. We also had some minor funding from the Danish Blind Federation, which I was myself a part of. So we did have some a good start there, but we still needed a lot more money in order to hire people who actually knew how to build an app. And back in 2012, there was a few, but very few apps designed for blind people, and accessibility was also kind of unknown among standard developers. So we really had to look around and find people who were kind of who were willing to spend time learning about the accessibility and all that. Android was almost impossible for blind people at the time to use. iPhone had come up with the voice-over system that makes it possible for blind people to use iPhones. So we the first version of the app was only for iPhone. And then after I presented the idea, I got this team around the idea. We spent almost a year raising the money. And after 1 year, we were lucky to get, I think it was close to $300,000 from a big foundation in Denmark, who thought, oh, that's an interesting idea. Let's give that some money, and then you can develop and see if it is something that can spread. And we did that. We spent more than a year developing. Maybe the most important thing we did was that we rented an office in one of the biggest institutions for blind people in Denmark. So we were actually working in the middle of this institution. So every time we needed a new test person, because you need new test persons all the time, because if you use the same person, they kind of know what to do. And we wanted the new people that had no clue how to use this prototype of Be My Eye. So we just had to open the door and basically grab the first one going by, because that would most likely be a blind person. And we did that for more than a year. Some of them were a little tired of us, but nevertheless, it was a tremendous learning for us. And I'm not totally blind, so I don't, in that sense, rely on voiceover and screen readers and all that. So it was super important that we could pull in a completely blind person who had no idea what Be My Eyes was, and ask them to, can you actually sign in here on your own? Because that was so important that we made it really simple and easy to use. So also people who were not that tech savvy would be able to do this on their own. That was kind of the goal we had. And we believe it is possible for not all, I totally realize that, but most blind people who are used to using their smartphone, they will be able to download Be My Eyes and sign in and start using it without any sighted assistance, which is, our goal. So that's how the whole thing started. And of course, it's a long story, but I will now start telling more about the app itself. We also, because we didn't have that much money. You can say 300,000, that's a lot of money, but when you start hiring developers and they you need to pay their salary, which is not low, then the money is spent very fast. So we decided, partly because of the money, but also because it would be the right thing to do, to make also the functions in the app super simple, and cut away everything we could that was not needed. And we ended up with an app with only one button. You could only open the app and then tap on this huge button, and that would connect you to a volunteer. Of course, you had to have signed in first and type in your email and name and what language you speak, but that was it. So we really nailed it down to a super simple and easy to use app. It has gotten a little more complicated since then, but that is what you as a blind person will see. Of course, you can find a app into settings, and now you can also listen to some community stories and a few other things. But the main thing on the screen is call first available volunteer, and now we have a button called specialized help. I will get back to that later. As a volunteer, you cannot do much in the app. You can sign in. That is just as easy as for the blind people. And then you can wait till someone calls you, or you will get a notification. And then of course you can read the stories and a few other things. And then let's take an example. We have Mike. He lives in Hong Kong. It's 11 o'clock at night, and he needs to see something. He is totally blind, and he has this can of something in his hand. And then he pulls out his phone and turns on Be My Eyes. He can also simply say to Siri, launch Be My Eyes, and so on. So you don't really have to use your fingers to initiate a call. He makes this request for help. And what we do when our server will receive this request, we will see, okay, Mike is in Hong Kong. It's late night, so we do not send notification to anyone in Hong Kong. Nobody wants to be called late night. So we find someone speaking the same language, but in another time zone. So we send out 20 notifications to volunteers in other time zones speaking the same language. And the first one of those 20 people who said, yes, I want to help, he or she will get the call. And in this case, it would be someone in London. And the other persons in other time zones, they will, if they say yes, they will get a small pop-up notification said, thank you for trying to help. Somebody else took the call before you. We hope you get the next call, or something like that. And this means that we can have a super fast response time. Most calls is answered within 10 to 20 seconds. It is simply a race for the volunteers to get to help, and they know this because as you can imagine, when we notify 20 people every time, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 is trying to help, and they will get this notification. And then next time they will know, oh, I have to be really fast to do this. And this means that the blind person will hardly ever wait only a few seconds to get a volunteer. And as I mentioned, we select people based on language and time zone. If you make a call between 8 o'clock in the morning and 9 o'clock at night, we will try to find someone in your own country, because we actually believe it's important that you get assistance from someone who knows the same traditions and know the same food ingredients and all kinds of social, cultural things can be maybe not super important, but can be convenient in the conversation that you speak to someone who actually knows the TV programs or whatever that is run in your country. But of course, at night, we call somebody in another time zone, and you basically need a pair of eyes, so it's not super important, but we try to do it as convenient as possible. As it is right now, we have 5.5 million volunteers, and I know that many of you guys who listen are from India. That might not sound a lot, but I'm from Denmark, and in Denmark we have 5.8 million people in my country. So the fact that I now have 5.5 million volunteers is for me a pretty big deal, and I think for most people, 5.5 million people is a lot of people. And this means that we can provide assistance in amazingly 185 different languages, including Icelandic. There's only 300,000 people in Iceland, and so we have a lot of the super small languages. And of course, if you speak English or Spanish or German or French or Chinese or Japanese or Russian, Hindi, and there's a lot of different languages in India, and we have a number of them where we have not plenty, but we would like to have more speaking Hindi actually. But we do have quite a number of volunteers pretty much all over the world. So we can really help people 24/7 in basically any language. If you are speaking what I call small language like Icelandic, then and you want help at 3 o'clock in the morning, it might be a good thing to add a secondary language. If you also speak English or German or Hindi or whatever, you should add that as a secondary language, because then we can always find someone. Because if you have a very small language and you want to get help in the middle of the night, then we might not be able to find someone in another time zone. So that's just a little hint. I mentioned that we have 2 buttons on the screen. The first one is where you call the volunteer. The second one is called specialized help. And specialized help is also our business model. Now, I think I'll step back and say a few things about what people are actually calling about, because we have so many different ways people are using Be My Eyes. I would say the majority of calls are something within the house. You have dropped something on the floor, and sorry, and of course you could get down on all 4 and start crawling around and until you find it, or you can turn on Be My Eyes and have a volunteer find it for you, and that is way more convenient. And also, if you have misplaced something, it can be really troublesome to find it when you only have your hands to do that. Most calls are within the kitchen. Everybody needs to have something to eat, and we all like to know what it is, especially when we are cooking. So a lot of people are using Be My Eyes simply to make sure this is the can of what I want it to be. And this is the pepper and all these different spices that you have. And you just want to make sure that you put the right thing in. It can be kind of a bad experience if you think you put something in and it is something completely different. And the volunteers are very excited about these kind of calls because they always end up in a kind of, oh, I love that dish too. And have you tried it with this? And so on. So it's kind of entertaining when you are cooking and people are kind of helping you out there. And of course, there's so many appliances you have in your home. I mean, your washing machine and your coffee maker and all that, microwave ovens and so on. If you have these machinery, they are very often not accessible for blind people. And we have so many people simply making super short calls to make sure that they are starting their washing machine on the right program. We have a lot of calls, like 20 seconds. Hello, my name is Hans. I'm cooking here. Have I set my oven to 200 degrees? Yes, you have. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And that's it. Sometimes the volunteers have been waiting 2 months to get a call, and then they get a 15-second call. They get a little disappointed, but they also feel this happiness that is just by helping someone, even with the smallest thing. And for many volunteers, this is really their first interaction with a real blind person doing something that they that's important for them, and they just need this little piece of information to be confident and make sure that they are on the right track. And this means a lot to our volunteers, that they get the chance to kind of be this little piece in the making of this dish or whatever. So it is. It's truly a win-win because the blind person get the issue done, and the volunteer get this amazing feeling of actually doing something good with their smartphone, and they can do it lying on their couch. And I mean, how often can you volunteer without leaving your couch? So that's also an important thing. I would say also, when you are putting on your clothes in the morning, it is so important that you feel that you actually are comfortable, and you know that the shirt matches, and that the socks has the same color, and then we have so many calls in the morning from blind people going to work or going to whatever, and they simply just want to make sure. So they take this camera and they film themselves up and down, and the volunteer was, oh, you're looking great, and have a great day, and that's it. And of course, if you want to have some specific color, you can find that shirt, or we even have some female users who are using Be My Eyes when they are putting on their makeup. And that's also a very personal experience for maybe both persons, that and it also very often turns into a conversations about why you need to put the makeup up. Is it a special day today, or is it just going to work, or and all that? So we have some wonderful conversations, and of course we get some paper mails still. And now you can kind of get this piece of paper out of the way. You don't have to wait until some sighted person comes around. You can simply use Be My Eyes to find, oh, is this something important, or can I throw it out? And of course, it's yeah, all these daily stuff is being done with Be My Eyes. And now I want to talk a little bit about specialized help, which is the other button on the screen. And this is where you, as a blind person, can get assistance with something very specific. For instance, you can make a call to Microsoft support. So if you have a computer issue and it is somewhat related to a Microsoft product, then you can take your Be My Eyes and then you can place a call directly to Microsoft support. And the three good things about this is that Microsoft knows it's a blind person because the call is coming from Be My Eyes. So they can make sure that these very few persons at Microsoft, I mean, Microsoft, they have, I don't know, 50,000 employees, but they only have maybe 10 or 20 people who knows anything about being blind or what products and screen readers and all that. But in these call centers that they have these people, and all the calls from Be My Eyes is coming to the same few persons. So they really grow into be expert in this. And they also get the video part. Normally, when you call a company support, you just take the phone and call them. But it is very frustrating, both for the support person, but also for the blind person, that when the support person, okay, so what's on the screen now? I have no idea, I'm blind. And my screen reader is not working. Okay, but now they can show the screen and the support person at Microsoft can say, okay, you need to put a check mark or you need to reboot or something like that. So it is way easier for them to give support. And Microsoft and Google and LinkedIn and Spotify and a number of other companies are part of our service, and they are so happy about it. So they are willing to pay Be My Eyes a monthly subscription to be on the Be My Eyes platform. It's still totally free to use Be My Eyes, both to call volunteers, but also to call the companies. And because the companies are willing to pay Be My Eyes, we can keep the Be My Eyes system running as a free service for everybody in the whole world. So that is the beauty of this business model we have. We still need to have more companies on board before we become a break-even company, but we hope to do that actually here in 2022, I hope. So that's kind of the business model. And we also have a number of blindness organizations that are part of specialized help, where you can go into specialized help and place a call to a blindness organization in your country. One of the things that I'm really proud about is we have a partnership with a company called Clear Blue. And they are making pregnancy tests. Because if you are a blind person and you think you are pregnant, but you want to know for sure, then you can go to the pharmacy and you can buy this pregnancy test and you can bring it home and you can take the test, but you cannot see the result. And as a blind woman, you would have to ask someone in your surroundings. Maybe you don't like that for any reason you have. We don't care about that. But we want to make sure that any human being in this world has the same options of having this kind of information for themselves, maybe just for 20 minutes or maybe for a few days until they kind of get used to the situation, and then when they are ready to tell the world I'm pregnant or I'm not, they can do it on their own terms without having anyone in the world in the process. And when I say without having anyone, it's not completely true, but because what you do is that you open the Be My Eyes app and you find Clearblue and you make a call to Clearblue. Clearblue is the one making these tests. And the person at Clearblue will guide you to take the test and make sure that they can read the result in the right way. But that person will never know who you are. It is Be My Eyes is absolutely anonymous. So nobody will at all know who you are, and you will not know who you spoke to at Clearblue. So in that sense, it is without anyone, you can say. But you do have a real person telling you that it is done correct and so on. So that's I'm really proud that we have been able to make this kind of partnership. And we are open to, if you have any ideas to other companies that want to join, we will be more than happy to have a conversation with them. And now I would say a little bit about how we got to the 5.5 million people, because that's kind of an amazing history, because we have not spent any money on marketing. It turns out that people who are volunteers, they are so excited about it. So they tell their neighbors and family and colleagues about it. And the colleagues say, oh, I can do that. That sounds fun. And then they go home and then they download the app and then they post on Twitter and Facebook. And that is literally how we have spread from Denmark to every country in the whole world. I have no idea about how people in Japan has heard about Be My Eyes, but somebody knew someone who spoke Japanese and another language, and then this Japanese person posted something in Japanese on Facebook, and then his Japanese friend heard about it, and his friend, and so on. And this is, to me, totally amazing that this is actually possible without any marketing to really spread all over the world. Because it's when you don't have a marketing budget, how do you get out there? And we have 375,000 blind and low vision users all over the world as well. Of course, we would like to grow that number, and I'm pretty sure we will. Yesterday, I was looking into the numbers in Africa, and of course, they are rather low, simply because Africa is a rather low-income continent with 54 different countries and all that. But still, we can see that the numbers are growing, and I have realized that the whole African continent is kind of booming with mobile technology, and I assume that the same thing is maybe further ahead, but also in India, that so many more people are getting online. The cost of being online is also, maybe you don't feel it, but it is actually falling. So it is getting cheaper in general to be online with your phone. And that, of course, also means that also blind people who very often is among the in the very low income end, they will also, not all of them, not at all, they will get access to smartphone, maybe not the most expensive iPhone, which is way too expensive, in my opinion, but an iPhone 6 or 7 or something like that, you can get for a lot lower price, and Android phones is even cheaper. And Be My Eyes is working just as well on Android. these days, and Android has made a system called TalkBack that is the same as VoiceOver. So also blind people can navigate Android phones. So we are very, very optimistic and hopeful that we will actually be able to help blind people also in remote areas and in language that not that many speak and so on. Which is for me, as a low vision person myself, is that's the whole purpose of Be My Eyes. It's never been about making any money, and we haven't so far. Normally, what I do is not a good business, but we really hope that we can make it into a sustainable business, and hopefully we can mean something to blind people all over the world in a bigger scale than we do now. According to UN, there is 35 million totally blind people in this world. And then there's another 200 low vision person, 200 million. And so even I'm super proud of my 375,000 blind and low vision users. It's basically nothing. We have just started, and I don't know how many we can get, but I would like to go to 1 million within the next year or so, and maybe that might be a little optimistic, but we hope we can reach. I also totally realize that many of the blind people in this world, they are like 80 or 90 years old, and they will not be playing around with iPhones or Android phones anytime soon. So that's a big chunk of these blind people. But there is way more than 370,000 that are potential users of Be My Eyes. So we're super optimistic about getting more users to use Be My Eyes. And I will end by telling two small stories, maybe not super typical, but still. There was a blind guy in the US. He was hearing some strange noises in his backyard, and he turned on Be My Eyes, and he said to the volunteer, "Can you see what's going on in my backyard? Now, there's some strange noises out there." "That's your dog," the volunteer said. "I don't have a dog." "You have now." The volunteer said, "Well, does he look friendly?" "Yeah, absolutely." And then, okay, he opened the door and said, "Doggy, doggy, come over here." And the dog came over, and he could find the tag around the neck of the dog, and they could find the phone number, and this blind guy could actually call the owner of the dog and say, "Hey, I have your dog here. If you want it back, you can come to my address." And this is something that would have been really, really, really difficult to do without Be My Eyes. And it's kind of it's a funny story, you can say. And another story was I met one of our users in Finland, and she was telling me that she had been using Be My Eyes when she was with her son to play a badminton match. The son was playing, and she was sitting there waiting, and she said, "Oh, I can get a volunteer to describe what's going on." And she called the volunteer. And then the volunteer was, "Okay, but what do you want me to do? Can you tell me how my son is doing in this badminton match?" "Yeah, but which one of them is your son?" "Well, I don't know." She knew who it was, but it's him yelling now. "Okay, then that's him in the blue." And then the volunteer described this badminton match for this blind mother, so she didn't have to totally rely on the son's expression about how he was doing, and this was also, of course, kind of a funny way to do it, but it was super meaningful in the situation, that this mother could have a kind of a second opinion about how her son was doing, and also that she was able to do that on her own. Without, of course, she could have asked another person in this room or whatever, but this was just her. She could do it totally on her own without asking for help. The funny thing is that when you're using Be My Eyes, you're actually asking for help, but it doesn't feel that way because you're just pressing a button and then someone pops up and say, "What can I do for you?" So you're not really asking. You're basically doing the same thing if you stood next to someone and ask them, but it feels totally different when you do it through the app. And it is a feeling of that gives you confidence to do that. So with those small stories, I will end. I'm more than happy to answer questions. So please, thank you.
It was wonderful, wonderful, Hans, and especially the stories you shared, like the mother who wanted to see the badminton match of the child, and a volunteer comes and gives a commentary. Fantastic. Nobody see in the world, blind world, nobody can even think of such options. Okay, see, one of the few things which we use with Be My Eyes, because we promote Be My Eyes to our students who is going abroad for higher studies. Okay, one of the major worry, because in India, maybe socially or family-wise, children are not given enough opportunity to do their own mobility. Always, like you have 5.2 million volunteers. Like that, with every blind person in India, there will be 10, 15 volunteers around them, right? So they won't get the chance to venture alone outside. Only few professionals do that. So they feel less confident in going abroad alone, getting into the aircraft, all those things. So we teach them Be My Eyes. Okay. So one other boy who was about to get an admission in US was not that sure that whether Be My Eyes can support me at any time. I said, yes, you can. You can. Okay. So we were standing in a big ground. I was teaching him independent mobility. I said, okay, call Be My Eyes. Let's see. So he got instant support to way out. So then he felt confident. See, this is what, there is a solution people have to use. I am quite surprised that the number of people, the real user group is less now, but by promoting Be My Eyes to the community, even to the smallest children, because now every small child also using a smartphone.
Well, I will say about children that you see, the concept of Be My Eyes is that we connect strangers, and that's also why we want our users to be 17 years old, because we want to make absolutely sure that you understand that you're talking to a stranger. And we don't want small girls to talk to old men they don't know. And this is just super important that everybody respect that you need to be adults to interact in this way. If you are younger than 17, you should call friends and family and so on to get this kind of assistance. So that's just to protect yourself from because anybody can sign up, both as a blind and a volunteer, and we have no way of conducting screening or anything in 185 different languages and all that. So but I would need to knock under my table here, but we have not experienced any fraud from our volunteers at all. So that's it is good people out there, but we cannot guarantee that there isn't any bad person or giving bad information or something like that. So that's why you have to be 70.
17 and then
you have some critical thinking yourself. So yeah.
Great.
Yes, this is Dr. Homia from Bookshare and Benedict. Congratulations on this wonderful thing. I am a Be My Eyes user, and I too suffer from RP just like you, and I'm in the same age group as you are.
Okay.
So just a little suggestion, and continuing on the same theme of girls and their safety and their privacy. Is there a long-term plan for girls to call lady volunteers? Because sometimes it would be required that they would like to see something which is a little private, or they do not want any male volunteers on the other side looking at things. So is there a plan in the future to sort of call a lady volunteer only sort of a thing?
That's a really interesting question, and the answer is super complicated, because we have been thinking about that, but then I myself might be a little old to this, but I have learned that there is not only two genders, there is a number of genders, and this is kind of a minefield to go into. To define male and female and transgender and I don't know what. There's a whole bunch that I even know the name of, but I'm very respectful of how people they feel. But we also realize that Be My Eyes is only about seeing something. If you as a female, you need to talk to another female person, because this is something that you will feel very uncomfortable doing with a male person. Then you should either call someone you know, or you can make a Be My Eyes call and then have a can of something in front of you. And then if it is a male, you can ask what is in this can. And if it is the female person, you can ask your real question. That's okay. But we will not make that option. Also, because we do sometimes have persons who only want to talk to female volunteers, but they are not female themselves. They have another agenda, and we don't want that either. We don't want it to make it too easy for them, so that's why we don't do that. We totally realize that there is a need for it, but we will get into all kinds of issues with the modern gender situation, which I'm this is super important for me to say that I am really supportive of people defining what they feel they are. It's not up to me to judge if you are a male or female. Sometimes it is rather obvious, and most time it is. But if you feel different, you feel different, and you should have the right to do that. But I also know that it would be really a minefield to go into, and it will be open to misuse for many people, because we also have people who hate that there is these genders, and who would simply call them if they could choose, and yell at them and so on. So this is really kind of a
appreciate your
area,
answer,
but also super interesting.
And appreciate the solution also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, Ram, should we open the floor for questions?
Yeah, please.
Participants.
So participants,
anyone who wants to ask a question, please raise your hand, and we'll allow you to be unmuted to ask your question to Hans.
Thank you.
Raise your hands, please.
Hello, sir. I am Prem here.
Yeah, Prem, go ahead.
It's good to attend this session and know about this thing, and it's a very good idea from Hans, sir. to make it possible to connect the volunteers and the person who are in need. And we are so thankful to him and his team also. Sir, actually my idea is, my question is, first of all, how many degrees the camera will cover? Is it will it cover 180 degrees or less than that?
Do you mean the camera?
Yeah, camera.
Ah, I don't know. We are using the whatever camera the phone has. We're using that. And it's a video camera, and so it will have the same angle as the whatever camera is on your device. That would be the angle. But isn't that around 120 or something? I believe, but I'm not sure. But I think it is.
Here, there is an interesting observation to you, Hans. The night before, I was sitting with a grant meeting for a new startup who is making a Google's like glass. Okay, with that glass, because your representative was also there. So they are trying to integrate Be My Eyes with the glass. If it comes in, it is going to give 360-degree coverage, almost nearly 360-degree coverage. Because normally the mobile phones give coverage up to, so like 180-degree or less than that. Okay, so this is going to be a good, interesting affair if they are successful in connecting Be My Eyes with the specs glass.
Yeah, I don't think 360 would be a good idea. I think it would be kind of confusing when you're looking on your screen. And also, I know for a fact that many of our users are very happy that they can control exactly what the volunteers are seeing, because sometimes they have something in the room that they don't want the volunteer to see, or something like that. But now, by themselves pointing the phone in the right direction, they can make sure that the volunteer only sees what the user wants them to see. So that's super important. We would welcome any pair of glasses that we can connect Be My Eyes to. The only thing is that we don't want glasses that are too expensive, because we don't want to push any of our users to spend $500 on glasses, because we know that a normal user would maybe use Be My Eyes once a day or once a week or something like that, and we don't want people to run around with a device they use very seldom, and they need to update and they need to charge and all that. So it has to be a cheap option that is easy to handle. And that's also why we haven't found any yet. We have been looking at some glasses, but we found them to be bulky or shaky or way too expensive, or all of it. But hopefully there will be an option. That's another difficulty with Apple, because they don't in the same way allow you to use an external camera. So yeah, but Android is more easy to develop for.
Yeah,
so,
this particular glass I was talking about gives lot many other options for them to OCR the text, read, and so many other things. So this is one part when they go on mobile.
But please connect us with the company if they.
No, your person was there in the meeting.
Yeah,
Bill was there.
Wonderful.
Okay, so I think it's going to be a successful thing, and it is with joint collaboration with Microsoft and other people also.
Wonderful.
Really good, really good. And there is a new startup from Canada. They are almost around 70%. Their job is done. We are just going to start testing with user group of people. So their next phase is connecting BMI apps into their system and getting the support for the people who are in need. Right. Okay, Doj, you have a question?
Yes, sir. First of all, Be My Eyes is doing a really great job. So first of all, thank you for it. And
Thank you.
I have two suggestions basically. The first one is you have Google supports like that. Can you add Samsung support first of all? And
I will bring it up. I think we have been in contact before, but they, as I mentioned, it is also our business model. So they will have to agree to pay, if not a whole lot, but still on a monthly basis. And they also.
okay. And sir, you can also means Apple support is not there. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead. Doj, what's happening?
Just a second, sir. Hans get muted actually, so he'll unmute and speak.
Yeah. Okay. Hans, you are muted. Yeah.
No, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
We can
not
hear
sure
you.
not sure what happened. So. So, any other questions?
JNK Handicap Association, Mr. Abrar, you have any question? Christian, you can unmute him.
Yes, sir. Yeah, he can unmute and speak. Yes.
JNK Handicap Association. They're from one of the most beautiful place in the earth. They're in Kashmir. Okay. I've seen he's raising hand, but I couldn't. Sub, okay, here we have Sub. I was talking about that Canadian product. Sub, you can ask question.
Hi. Hi, Hans.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah, so we're the company that's working on the smart glasses that Ram mentioned earlier. I wouldn't say we're 70% done. We got a bit more work than that. But we've been talking to Will and Alex briefly about what our glasses are like. And, you know, we are targeting that $300 price point in India. So we have a pair of glasses that is affordable, and we do all these other technologies like OCR. So these are a pair of glasses that people would hopefully use on a daily, regular basis. But my question is more, in terms of this integration, we're currently talking, I'm talking to Will and Alex about what a technical integration would look like, because like you said, Apple won't allow you to replace your phone's camera with this external camera on the glasses. And so if we were to integrate, it would have to be a specific integration with the BMI's development team onto our own application. And so trying to see what that commitment would look like and how much dev work could be for you guys is what we're trying to figure out right now. But my question was just, you guys have done an amazing job in completing this vision that you talked about of you now have 5.5 million volunteers worldwide, and you start doing company integrations as well, like with Microsoft and with other companies. What is the next steps for Be My Eyes?
Well, then we this might be a little what do you call it? Specific knowledge, but in the support center world, there is a company called Genesis that we are working closely with, and they are huge in support centers, and we hope that our the way we partner with Genesis would help us get access to many more companies, and it will be way easier for companies to select. Oh yeah, we also have, maybe not a whole lot, but we also have blind customers, and then they can check mark something in their agreement with Genesis, and then suddenly they also can support their blind customers. So this is something we are working intensely on an ongoing basis, that to develop this partnership with Genesis, which is one of the big players in the support center area, which I know nothing about, but this is it's really exciting because it will be able to so we can get a lot more customers onboarded in an easier way, we hope. So that is our big milestone to go for. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that completely makes sense. Instead of directly partnering with companies, you can partner with Genesis and onboard a huge amount of companies at once.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, that'd be amazing.
They are, I don't know, but it's a huge company, and they have all the major companies, all the companies you can name. They are basically customers at Genesis. So if we can kind of get into a position where they we want this service and this service, and okay, then also the blind people and so on, and just a few weeks ago, the CEO of Genesis wrote a book about empathy in customer support. So they really mean this, about that we should also help these people that are blind and in other way disabled people. So it's not only blind people, but they really try to look into how should a company in 2022 behave and make that possible for their companies in an easy way. So we're very optimistic about it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hans, we have a few people from African continent also, which you were mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so anybody from African continent want to have a chat? Like Friday is there, then there were a couple of others were there before. Friday, do you want to ask any questions? Friday, Nuka. Okay. I will request him to unmute. All right. Okay, any other questions, participants?
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Yes, okay, go.
Okay, sorry. I'm Abrar from J&K, India. How to add the language, because we are Kashmiri Persian, we have a Kashmiri language, and how to add in Be My Eyes? What is the procedure?
Well, if you speak a language and that language is not on the the list of the 185 that we have right now, you need to send an email to info@BeMyEyes and then suggest this language. And then we, if, I don't know, there's some quick criteria that I'm not quite sure of. But if we agree to add the language, then it will be available only for the volunteers in the beginning until we reach a significant number of volunteers, because we don't want to have a language where there's no volunteers and some blind people is trying to use it. So we will add the language, and then after a few months or something, there will be enough volunteers so we dare open it for the blind people to select the language. Just so you understand, if you suggest something and it doesn't show up on the blind side, that's why. So,
Then first of all, add the volunteers, then after that, adding the language for particular language.
When you sign up as a volunteer, you can select what language you can provide help in, and we ask that it is a language. First of all, we like you to have your native language, whatever that language is, as your primary language. And then if you also speak, I mean, I speak Danish really good, and I speak somewhat English, and then I would select Danish as my primary language, and then I would add English as my secondary language. And you can add maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 secondary languages, but only add languages that you really speak fluently and you can also read, because there would be a lot of what's the text on this bottle and so on. So you really need to be able to read the text in that language you select.
Okay, thank you.
Abrar, it is a good question you ask. So as part of JNK Handicap Association volunteer base, you develop at least some 40-50 volunteers who can speak Kashmir in Be My Eyes. Then your language is in.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ram.
So we can do any kind of training for volunteers to how to log in, how to register and all. We can provide it to JNK Handicap Association. There is no issues at all.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
And if you go into the app, you can also, I believe, in settings you can find information about because we also use volunteers to translate the buttons in the app and some of the text that you will receive. So if you want to be a translator for Be My Eyes, then you can sign up to something called Crowd-in that we are using, and then you will receive once in a while an email say, can you help us to translate these few sentences and so on. So that would also be a way to volunteer your expertise for Be My Eyes.
Wonderful. That almost it can be the same case for any other Indian languages too.
Yes.
Okay. So we will work along with you to make sure that India wake up and join Be My Eyes. So our 375,000 will go explode to 1 million of users.
Yeah. There's a little way to go. We have 17,000 blind and low vision people in India signed up, and we have 59,000 volunteers. So I think we're doing pretty good, but we can definitely improve. So yeah, just to let you know. So, but it is it's super important that, I mean, we have so many English-speaking volunteers, so we don't say this, but we don't really need anymore. But we would very much like to have more Hindi speaking and all the other
regional languages
that are not worldwide. I know Hindi is, but understand me right. These that are not that big as English and Spanish and so on. So so it would be wonderful if you could have more people sign up speaking your languages that are used within India outside English. Yeah.
Hence, we would like to conduct like some training program for the users in India, in the same platform. So I may request you to send one of your trainees or technical guys to talk to the team, or you yourself can do that, so that we will have more and more registrations we can bring up.
Sir, I have a question.
Please. Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, sir, there are many misconceptions about Be My Eyes languages. Like some people believe that the vernacular language or the some languages like Hindi and other regional languages, the volunteers are not so much like, they're not as good as English speaking volunteers. Is it true?
Well, in my opinion, anybody who speaks their native language is the very best volunteer we can get. So, and it doesn't matter what language it is. English is in no way better than any other languages, or German or French or whatever. But if you speak your native language, that's the way, that's number one. And that's the only thing I'm asking. I don't care what language you speak, but as long as you speak your native language, you're more than welcome to add a secondary language, but we would always try to find someone speaking we assume that you have your native language as your primary language. So don't think, English is more important or whatever. It's not. And if you speak perfect Hindi, that's what we want. Exactly. So,
yeah, that was the misconception which is cleared by you. So thank you for it.
Good evening.
Good
yeah,
evening.
go ahead.
Yes, this is Randy Brown from Mauritius. I was asked by my organization, Global Rainbow Foundation, to come in here and ask some questions about Be My Eyes. First of all, because I haven't done any sort of research on it, I want to know, is the app completely free?
Yes, it is. Yeah, the app is free. The phone is not free,
Yes.
but it is free to use it. Of course, if you are on a Wi-Fi, it is. Absolutely free. If you are out and about and you're using your data plan, it will affect your data plan, of course. But the app itself is totally free.
Yes, and if we want like Mauritian, to join the program, because we over here in Mauritius, we speak Mauritian Creole. Is that a part of Be My Eyes language?
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
Okay. So have you been working with any Mauritians?
I have not personally, but I believe one of my colleagues has had some conversations with your blindness organization, but I'm not sure. But I believe we have.
Yeah. So if we
the world is a big place.
Yes,
I don't remember all the countries or who we have spoken to or who we really wanted to or something like that. But we would be more than happy to do it. So
my organization is very interested, to be a part of this.
Please send an email to info@bemyeyes.com.
info@bemyeyes.com.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Randy, for the question. Excellent. Okay. Anyone else? Any more questions?
This is truly a worldwide audience. That's very impressive.
Yes. Because Chakshumati got a coverage up to 11 countries, and Benetek got a total globe coverage because of the Bookshare.
Yeah, wonderful
library. So, so we have a huge coverage. But time
speaking,
matters.
speaking of books, because sometimes people are making a Be My Eyes call because they need to read something in a book. And previously that has been kind of difficult because you need to try to hold the phone steady, and the video quality wasn't that good and so on. But now we have added a feature where the volunteer can take a photo, a high resolution photo, and that photo will be shown on the volunteer's phone, of course, and then they can zoom in and navigate. So it is way easier to read small print and maybe read a whole page in a book. I don't think you should kind of ask a volunteer to read the whole book, but if you need some specific information on page 23 in this book, you can absolutely use Be My Eyes for that, and the volunteer will be more than happy to read. But they don't expect to be reading for hours, of course.
Understood. No, most of the time, what happens is like any books which can be OCR by a blind person using a camera. But there are certain areas when it comes to science, maths, and other symbols and equations, which may not be completely covered. So that is a portions these people can get clarified. That is one of the reason I was talking about students, children and students. But under the age of 17, there is a small issue, like you have your own privacy settings. But in higher schools, high schools, and higher colleges, they may be able to use the support from the volunteer base. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, Gauri Praveen, you have any question? You can unmute now.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, I have a question. Can we share our screen? Actually, if we have anything to read from our screen, can we share our screen to our volunteers so that they can help out with that reading text? Something is written on the screen.
Unfortunately, not. It is something we would very much like to be able to do. It is also something where you have to be a little more careful because you sometimes have some super private things on your phone that you should not share to strangers. But it is something we would like to build, and then we need to find out how do we present this to the blind users so they feel comfortable and they don't by accident share stuff they shouldn't share or something. But it is something that we
I
it's
think
on
for
our
blind
list.
sir, I think for blind people that may be accessible, that there is some sound assistance inbuilt in their phone so they can access. But for low vision, for people with low vision, this feature might be helpful, in my opinion.
You're spot on. Absolutely. So it is something it's on our list. I have also learned that if it is not in the very top of the list, it's not going to happen anytime soon. And to be honest, I don't really know where this idea stands on our list, but we have a pretty long to-do list. So, but we are hopeful.
Great. Okay, any more questions? Any more questions? Okay, if there is no more questions, I think I should allow Hans to go and have a coffee. His coffee there for him.
You can hear my wife, not my wife, but my voice needs.
Yeah, that is the major reason, because your thought is getting again and again.
I think I will give my voice and my wife a cup of coffee.
Yes, yes, please. Yeah. Okay. So before I say thanks to all, Dr. Homya, do you want to mention anything?
Just wanted to say a big thank you to Hans for
spending time. Great.
And
Thank you.
thanks to all the people who attended from all these countries across the globe. Thank you so much for being a part of Bookshare's presentation, Chakshumati's presentation. Thank you, everybody.
Right.
Bye
Okay.
for now.
So
Thank
I
you.
want to thank few people also, because some of our team members in Chakshumati, like Naresh is one of the most curious minds in our organization, right? So he said, so we need to have these as a program, and we must invite Hans. I said, okay, you go ahead, invite. So he took the first step. Then you're here.
It has been a great pleasure to be here, and I'm really impressed that you have people from all over the world. And maybe this is just because I'm 58 years old now, but I still get impressed that it is at all possible that we can sit all over the world and have this conversation, and so I think that's just amazing.
This is going.
I should have learned it by now, but I still get impressed that it is possible to do it. So
yeah. Anyway, your conversation recording is going to be on YouTube, because most of our people, like we have a good base of people, they go and see that, because one of the major issues, the countries which we serve in Africa, they have a very low data plan. They struggle a lot. So when they go to a Wi-Fi area, they download it and then go ahead with that. So there are certain countries like that, and other places like the time zone difference is there. So they will be watching this program. So anyway, we will inform you like when we go for the next program of a hands-on experience with Be My Eyes, a training program, which we may do it in a month or month and a half time for larger area of people on different language groups in India. And also, as you said, as Abrar brought us a point, we'll try to bring some peculiar languages which are like smaller in group, like your Icelandic language, and try to make a good base of volunteer base. Then it will be a pleasure to add that new language to the Be My Eyes spectrum of languages.
That's wonderful. We just there is some, if there's too few people using these languages, then the volunteers will never get a call, and then they will kind of fade away over time. So it needs to have some volume. But yeah, we will try it out, absolutely. So
no, here one good thing what is happening in India at the moment, people are getting into technology, especially using a smartphone. Now the students as well as working population also doing all their typing using an external keyboard connected with an OTG to the smartphone, and it is becoming their small computer.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think the population, 85% of India's visually impaired population is now into smartphones. So it is a primary duty for organizations like us to promote Be My Eyes, one of the most, supporting app, to make them independent and keep their privacy to the extreme level.
Yeah. Just remember to tell the families of the blind people that they need to sign up as volunteers as well, especially in your I believe Hindi is your national language, right?
India, yes, Hindi is the most widely spoken language.
Yeah.
And but
and then also the other major languages.
There are other major languages also, like Tamil, Malayalam, and Urdu is also widely spoken in India. Okay, so Hindi is the majority of the people who talks. But India being once ruled by English, everybody understand English also, not speak English.
Yeah.
So I think it is pretty easy to handle a Indian customer.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening. I believe.
Thank you, Hans. Thank you very much. I just
thank
want to read
you.
one chat message from.
Bye.
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 I just want to read one small. Bye. Okay, I just, for other participants, I just want to read one message from Anubarza Datta, who wrote that I feel like developing a worldwide organization to bargain for a low-cost connectivity for the PWDs. Yes, very much. It is. It should be one of the major things which we want to work together. Thank you for putting up this wonderful thought. Thank you, Anubharta. And thank you, all my team. Thank you, Combination, for taking all the initiative and today being the master of ceremony to handle the Zoom. And thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. The recordings will be posted in Bookshare, YouTube channel as well as in Chakshumati. Okay. So thank you all. Thank you very much. And have a wonderful evening. Thank you.